At a corporate gala, my best friend suddenly teased my wife in German. If it weren't for Ethan, would you have married Liam? Chloe replied in German with a single word, yes. Instantly, every colleague in the room who understood German turned to look at me. They all knew I was Chloe's one sore spot, the one thing you didn't cross, yet no one dared to tell me the truth to my face. But they didn't know that I had already taken the time to learn German. I didn't ask any questions or confront anyone. I just silently summoned the system after we got home. Hello, I am the son of host 12138. I'm requesting to leave this world. 10 years ago, my mother inexplicably vanished from this world. No one could find her. No one knew that she had given me a necklace before she left. Your mother was a transmigrator. She never belonged to this world. She stayed because your father loved me. But now he has betrayed me, so I will never see him again. If one day, the person you love also betrays you, use this to summon the system and come to my side. I never thought I would have to use this necklace. But now, Chloe has left me utterly defeated. The system gave me 3 days to say goodbye to this world. On the third to last day, I went to the psychiatric hospital to see my father, David. I hadn't seen him in 3 years. He had aged so much. His hair was completely white, his eyes were clouded over, and he no longer even recognized his own son. I looked at the man responsible for my mother leaving me when I was just a child, and I couldn't help but ask him, "Do you regret it?" But David didn't understand what I was asking. He just shook his head, then nodded. I knew I wouldn't get an answer. I gave him one last look and turned to leave. As soon as I stepped outside, I saw Chloe waiting for me. The moment she saw me, she hurried over and took my hand. "What made you decide to come here today? You didn't even tell me you were coming." I stared at her, my face expressionless, and said, "I dreamed about my mother last night. I came to see, on her behalf, what becomes of the people who betray her." Hearing this, a flicker of guilt crossed Chloe's eyes, but she quickly composed herself and smiled at me. "Well, since you've seen what you came to see, let's go home. I bought you so many gifts on my trip abroad. You can see if you like them." When we got home, I saw Liam coming downstairs with a suitcase. He smiled when he saw me and handed me a gift box. "Ethan, I'm moving out. Sorry for being such a bother staying here these past few days. This is a gift I picked out for you while you were in the hospital. I'm sure you'll love it." He emphasized that last sentence, his meaning clear. Before I could say anything, however, Chloe took Liam's suitcase from him. "Ethan, I'll give him a ride. It'll be hard to explain to his sister otherwise. You just wait here at home, okay? I'll be right back to keep you company as soon as I'm done." I said nothing, just silently watched them leave. Only when the car was completely out of sight did I reach out and slowly open Liam's gift. The box was crammed with used Trojan wrappers, a full 60 of them. I thought my heart would break, but in the end, I just laughed until tears streamed down my face. I took the box and placed it on the desk in Chloe's study, right where she would see it the moment she came back. On the second to last day, Chloe still hadn't come home, but I knew she had gone to a party the night before as Liam's date. I didn't ask where she was. Instead, I hired a cleaning service to go through the house and get rid of everything that was mine. Anything without value was thrown out. Anything with value was donated to charity. As I watched the villa slowly empty out, a sense of peace settled over me. I would no longer feel heartache for someone who didn't deserve it, and I would no longer feel any attachment. That night, I sat by the fireplace and edited 2 videos. One was a montage of my relationship with Chloe, and the other was a compilation of all the intimate videos Liam had sent me of him and Chloe. By the time I finished editing, the sun was rising. I sent both videos to the events manager for Millennium Park and wired him a sum of money. "Play these for me tomorrow, one after the other, on a continuous loop." On the final day, the first thing I saw when I opened my eyes was Chloe. Her voice was full of cheer. "Ethan, happy birthday." It was only then I remembered that today was my 26th birthday. What a coincidence. It was also the day I would disappear from her world forever. Looking at the newly decorated living room and the enormous birthday cake, I managed a small smile. I wanted to ask her, "Aren't you tired of putting on this act every day? Fresh from being with Liam, you rush right back home to pretend to love me." I looked at her. "You've been so busy with work. Do you really have time to celebrate my birthday?" Chloe took my hand. "Ethan, what are you talking about? You know perfectly well that no one in the world is more important to me than you. On your birthday, I'd be with you even if the world were ending." I just smiled and said nothing. Chloe spent the entire day busy in the kitchen. From the fruit platters to the drinks, from the main courses to the desserts, she made everything herself. Suddenly, Chloe's phone, which was on the table, buzzed. I glanced over and saw a message from Liam. It was a mirror selfie. I saw it and then put the phone back where it was. At 6:30 that evening, with 20 dishes laid out on the table, Chloe waved me over. "Honey, come on. Your wife is here to celebrate your birthday." I stood up, walked over, and handed her the phone. "Your phone's been going off." Chloe smiled and said it was nothing, but the moment the screen lit up and she saw what was on it, her expression darkened and her breathing quickened. I watched her in silence. After 3 seconds of silence, Chloe put her phone away, an apologetic look on her face. "Ethan, something's come up at the office. I need to go take a look. Is it okay if you start eating without me? I'll be back in 2 hours. Will 2 hours be enough for you to have your fun?" Chloe didn't quite hear me. She turned back, looking confused. "What did you say?" I smiled. "Nothing. Go on. Go to him, Chloe. You don't need to know that today is the last day you will ever spend with me." 15, Chloe had me. At 27, she will lose me forever. I watched her car drive off before slowly heading out the door myself. When I reached the massive screen in Millennium Park, I sent a text to the manager. "It's time. You can start the broadcast." At 7 o'clock sharp, the screen lit up. The first image alone was enough to make everyone in the park stop and stare. A cold, mechanical voice echoed through the now empty street. "The dimensional portal is open. Commencing countdown. Countdown complete." A fierce wind kicked up, whipping a blizzard of snow through the street. 3 minutes later, the wind and snow ceased, and the spot where I had been standing was empty. When I opened my eyes again, I was standing in front of an unfamiliar mansion. The address plate read 12138. Staring at that familiar number, I froze. A moment later, a voice that was both familiar and strange came from behind me. "Are you?" I turned around and saw the face I had dreamed of 1,000 times. My mother, whom I hadn't seen in 20 years, was standing right in front of me, her smiling face not having aged a day. Seeing me, my mother, Sarah, froze. Her bright eyes slowly welled up with tears. "Ethan?" Hearing my mother say my name, I couldn't hold back any longer and ran into her embrace. Sarah held me tight, tears streaming down her cheeks. After a moment, Sarah finally collected herself and led me into the house that was once just hers, but was now ours. The warmth in the room slowly chased away the chill. Sarah set down the cake she was holding and went into the kitchen. I followed her, and when I saw her take out a rolling pin to make birthday noodles, the lump in my throat returned. "Mom, I want 2 fried eggs." Hearing those words again, Sarah's eyes reddened. For a moment, she seemed lost in a memory. Was I really back with her? Or was this all just a dream? But when she turned and saw me beside her, washing vegetables, the reality of it finally sank in, and her hands moved a little faster. 10 minutes later, 2 steaming bowls of noodle soup were on the table. I opened the cake box, lit the candles, and made a wish as my mom sang "Happy Birthday." I wished for my mom to be healthy, to live a long life, and for us to never be separated again. I repeated the words 3 times in my head. When I opened my eyes, I was met with a gaze full of love and guilt. "Mom, I'm 26 now. We're finally together again. It's so good, Sarah repeated. Her voice choked with emotion as she pushed the bowl of noodles toward me. "Eat up. See if your mom's cooking has gotten any worse." Just like when I was a kid, I ate one of the eggs first, then slurped up the noodles. The aroma of the clear beef broth awakened taste buds that had been dormant for years. I ate one bite after another, and soon the entire bowl of noodles, broth and all, was gone. After finishing the last egg, I took the napkin my mom offered me, my eyes shining with happiness. "It tastes just like I remember. Mom, I've missed this so much." Looking at me, Sarah wiped away a tear and finally broke into a smile. "If you like it, I'll make it for you every day. Come on, let's have some cake. How's the frosting? Is your favorite chocolate? Have a taste." Outside, the snowstorm faded, and the lights in the mansion slowly went out. Neither my mom nor I could sleep, so we just talked, jumping from one topic to another. "Mom, what have you been doing all these years? Did you think about me every day? Since you got me a cake, does that mean you got me a present too?" In the early hours of the morning, the 2-day snowstorm finally stopped. Chloe finally woke from the terrifying nightmare. She opened her eyes, wiped the cold sweat from her brow, and once she had calmed down, she checked her phone. It was already 5 in the morning. The light from the screen woke Liam beside her. He blinked sleepily and pressed closer. Chloe's body tensed. Liam's voice was raspy. "Chloe, let's keep going." But Chloe didn't give him what he wanted. She pushed his hands away, got out of bed, and went into the bathroom. The The sound of the shower running fully woke Liam. He impatiently switched on the lamp. The room was a wreck. Clothes were strewn everywhere, and the faint, cloying scent of incense lingered in the air. The sight reminded him of the previous night's passion, and a smug smile touched his lips. He picked up Chloe's phone from the bed and easily unlocked it by typing in my birthday. The screen opened to iMessage. Seeing that the message Chloe had sent at 11 o'clock last night had gone unanswered, Liam smiled, pleased with himself. He knew yesterday was my birthday, which is why he'd schemed to get Chloe over to his place. She had said she'd only stay for 2 hours, but thanks to his preparations, she'd stayed until 11. After 11, Chloe insisted on leaving, so he'd made a bet with her that I was already asleep and it was too late to go home and celebrate anyway. So Chloe sent the text. When midnight came and I still hadn't replied, she finally agreed to stay the night. But Liam wasn't satisfied with just that. Every half hour, he sent me a play-by-play, inviting me to enjoy the show. The thought of me at home, heartbroken but forced to pretend I knew nothing, filled Liam with a deep sense of satisfaction. Hearing the water in the bathroom shut off, he quickly got up and waited by the door. When Chloe came out, he immediately pulled her into his arms. "Chloe, come back to bed. Have breakfast with me later, okay?" Chloe pushed him away, her face cold, grabbed her bag, and walked out. Watching her leave without a word, Liam frowned. Why was she angry all of a sudden? During the entire ride, Chloe sat in the back, pressing her temples, trying to force the dark images from her mind. But the harder she tried to forget, the clearer they became. Desperate, she picked up her phone to distract herself. She hadn't checked it in hours, and now she had nearly 100 new iMessage notifications. They were all from friends and family, teasing her, calling her romantic for planning such a huge surprise for her husband. A surprise? What surprise? Chloe had no idea what they were talking about. Seeing they had all sent the same link, she clicked on it, confused. It was a trending topic on Twitter. So sweet. Power couple's lavish birthday celebration. Below it was the video that had been playing on a loop all night on the screen in Millennium Park. It was a montage of my 11-year relationship with Chloe. But when she remembered the previous night's debauchery and my forgotten birthday, Chloe was consumed by guilt. She covered her face in shame and said in a low voice, "Take me to Millennium Park." The park was already crowded with people, all of them fans of our couple goals relationship, who had flocked here after hearing the news last night. The moment she appeared, the crowd erupted in cheers. "Chloe, where's Ethan? Isn't he coming to see this with you? Please tell Ethan happy 26th birthday for us. We'll be there with you too until you're old and gray. Happy 4th wedding anniversary." Hearing the flood of good wishes, Chloe quickly waved to the crowd. She looked up at the images scrolling across the screen, and the memories buried deep in her mind began to surface. Every scene was a testament to our past. The downpours we'd been caught in, the mountains we'd climbed, the toasts we'd shared. As she watched, Chloe found herself smiling along with the version of herself on the screen. In that moment, she felt the same blush, the same flutter in her heart that she'd felt when we first got together. She couldn't wait to call me, to share this feeling with me, but she tried 4, 5 times, and it went straight to voicemail each time. A sense of panic began to creep into Chloe. The clock ticked over from 6:59 to 7 o'clock, just as the video in the park was ending. Just as everyone expected it to loop back to the beginning, the image on the screen suddenly changed. A woman's moans echoed from the speakers placed around the park. On the screen, a man and a woman were engaged in a very private act. In an instant, the entire park and the online live stream exploded. Chloe only needed one glance to recognize the people on the screen, herself and Liam. Her face went white, her mind went blank, and all rational thought shattered. The crowd, which had been watching with amusement, now wore expressions of utter shock as they recognized the faces on the screen. All eyes turned to Chloe. The park fell silent. At 7:05, the hashtag Chloe Hayes Cheats topped the trending charts. At 7:10, Twitter servers crashed. At 7:30, after playing for 20 minutes, the video was finally taken down, and the screen went black. At 7:30, the Hayes Corporation issued a statement claiming the 5-hour video was a malicious deepfake. During that half hour, Chloe was driving home like a madwoman. She had only one thought in her head. She had to bury this before I woke up. When she got home and pushed open the door, the first thing she saw was the 3-foot-tall cake and the table full of cold food, all untouched. The dead silence of the house made Chloe's terrified heart pound even faster. She crossed the living room and crept quietly up the stairs. The bedroom was silent. Seeing the perfectly made bed, Chloe's heart nearly stopped. Her mind went blank for a second before rebooting at high speed. She tore through the room like a madwoman, throwing open every door. The bathroom, the walk-in closet, the sitting room, the balcony. Everywhere she looked was empty. Not just empty of people, but almost empty of things. Staring at the empty rooms, only one thought remained in Chloe's mind. It's over. It's all over. I slept in until 11. When I came downstairs, my mom was on the sofa, knitting a scarf. When she saw I was awake, she immediately had someone bring out my breakfast, which had been kept warm. I leisurely ate my oatmeal, watching the scarf take shape in my mother's hands. "Mom, is that for me?" My mom smiled. After I finished eating, she led me to another bedroom. "When I came back to this world, I bought this mansion. The very first thing I did was get a room ready for you." She opened the closet. It was filled with clothes and shoes, along with hand-knitted gloves, scarves, and hats. A display case held 20 beautifully wrapped boxes, one for each of the 20 birthdays she had missed. The room had been empty all this time, yet it was spotless and fully furnished, as if it were just waiting for its owner to come home. Seeing this warm, bright room, I felt a lump form in my throat. All the years I had spent missing my mother, she had been missing me too. "I've been waiting for you to come to this world. I'm so glad you didn't disappoint me." Tears of happiness streamed down my face. "Mom, are you angry that I didn't come find you all these years?" Sarah patted my back, her voice full of affection. "You never blamed me for leaving you. How could I ever blame you? No matter what world you're in, as long as you're healthy and happy, that's all that matters to me." "Me too, Mom. I just want you to be happy, to be free to be yourself." After lunch, Sarah took me to the DMV to get an ID. When it came time to fill in my name, my mom and I talked it over and decided I should change my last name. Holding my new ID, I looked at the name Ethan Clark and felt like I had been reborn. It was only in that moment that I truly felt I had left the past behind. Sarah took me to her company, got me set up as an employee, and announced my identity to the entire staff. Seeing how much the two of us looked alike, the employees started whispering among themselves. "So the rumors about Ms. Clark's son are true. Wow, the resemblance is uncanny. No wonder Ms. Clark sent out such big bonuses this morning and announced a company holiday. The heir has returned. I bet he'll be taking over the company someday." Looking at the company my mom had built from the ground up and the employees who had been with her for over a decade, I felt an immense sense of pride. The previous night, my mom and I had talked about the future. She asked me what I wanted to do, a question I had never considered before. Before, all I wanted was for my wife to have our children and to live a quiet, stable life. But after the betrayal, I slowly realized that the happy, fulfilling life I wanted was something I had to create for myself, not something I could depend on a woman to give me. It took me 20 years to learn that lesson, but thankfully it wasn't too late. So I took my mom's advice and decided to get a job, to experience a different kind of life and find something I was truly passionate about. I was going to start a new life in this brand new world. 34 hours after my disappearance, the police found my phone at a landfill. As soon as Chloe got the news, she rushed to the police station. Before they gave her the phone, the police asked her a few important questions. "Ms. Hayes, are you certain the last time you saw your husband was at 6:30 in the evening? Did you try to contact him that night? Regarding the recent posts about you online, was your husband aware of them? According to our information, your husband's mother also disappeared without a trace 20 years ago. She's never been heard from since. Do you think your husband's disappearance could be related to his mother's?" The series of questions was like a volley of knives, each one plunging into Chloe's heart. She clutched her chest, trying to suppress the dull ache, but it was no use. Her mind, exhausted from 2 sleepless days, struggled to process the information, and her answers were hesitant and uncertain. Yes, it was 6:30. It was his birthday. I sent him a message that night, but he never replied. Those posts, I don't know. I don't know if he saw them. His mother left because his father cheated on her. Her words caught in her throat. Chloe looked up, a flicker of understanding in her numb eyes. Memories buried deep within her began to surface. My visit to the psychiatric hospital just before I disappeared. The necklace my mother left me, which had been sent for repairs and never seen again. My recent, frequent mentions of my parents' painful past. An unprecedented wave of terror washed over Chloe, and the hair on her arms stood on end. She took the phone from the officer with a trembling hand and unlocked it with her fingerprint. The screen opened directly to an iMessage conversation. The moment she saw the name at the top of the screen, Chloe's blood ran cold. Liam. The chat history was an endless scroll of explicit videos and photos. She suddenly remembered the scandalous video that had played on the screen in Millennium Park. All the questions that had been tormenting her, keeping her awake at night, were answered in that instant. I hadn't disappeared because I saw the video. I had known about her and Liam for a long, long time. My silence was just me planning my exit. And that video, it had come from me. I had used it to tear down the facade of our happy marriage in front of the entire world, as revenge for her betrayal. And Chloe had been completely oblivious. By the time she realized what was happening, she was already standing at the edge of a cliff, with a vast, dark chasm of her own making behind her. She was falling into it with no way to stop herself. 3 days after the video incident, news of my disappearance went public. At the same time, the man in the video was identified by internet sleuths. He was the younger brother of Chloe's college roommate, a freshman at the University of Chicago. The two stories broke at the same time, once again sending the hashtag Chloe Hayes Cheats hashtag to the top of the trending list. This time, the Hayes family poured money into damage control, but they couldn't kill the story. It was as if someone was secretly fanning the flames. Overnight, the Hayes Corporation's stock plummeted. Chloe's grandfather had a heart attack that night and was rushed to the hospital. When her assistant told her the news, Chloe's already fragile mental state completely shattered. The 72-hour golden window for a rescue mission passed with no news of me. She searched everywhere she could think of, hired countless private investigators, and pulled strings to get access to every traffic camera in Chicago, but found no trace of me. My legal records were expunged. Everything related to me in the house was gone. The last time I was seen on camera was at 6:30 in the evening on the 21st. After Chloe drove away from the house, I walked out, carrying a bag. No one knew what was in it. While the detectives tried to trace my steps, Chloe forced herself to go to the hospital. The moment she walked in, her father slapped her so hard she saw stars. "You disgraceful daughter! You've caused such a scandal! You're going to destroy this entire family!" She fell to her knees, bowing her head to the floor again and again in front of her furious parents and her grandfather, who was on a ventilator. Just then, there was a knock at the door. Chloe's father turned, his face grim, and saw a man he despised, Mr. Thompson, the current CEO of the Thompson Group, the Hayes Corporation's biggest rival. He arrived with a group of 7 or 8 men, and upon seeing the family drama unfold, he couldn't help but applaud. My father heard Mr. Hayes wasn't well and sent me to pay my respects. I hope this isn't a bad time. Just seeing the smug look on his face, the Hayes family knew something was wrong. Their expressions soured, and they began to ask him to leave. But Mr. Thompson ignored their harsh words. He smiled and produced a document. "That's quite all right. I'm actually here on other business. A few days ago, I received a stock transfer agreement signed by the Hayes Corporation's largest shareholder, Ethan. He transferred his 70% stake in the company to me for a nominal fee. I've already signed it. I'm here today to inform you that at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning, my lawyers and I will be at the Hayes Corporation headquarters to finalize the details. I trust you'll be prepared." His words hit the room like a thunderclap. Chloe's father refused to believe it. He was the first to object. "Impossible. The largest shareholder of the Hayes Corporation is Chloe. How could the shares be transferred without her signature?" Mr. Thompson's gaze settled on Chloe, his smile widening. "As for whether it's true or not, perhaps you should ask your darling daughter. Good day." Chloe was frozen to the spot, unable to speak. Her world was in chaos. She didn't know where she was or what was happening, only that she couldn't catch her breath. Liam's sister and parents rushed to his side the day the story broke, demanding to know what had happened. He refused to say a word, which infuriated his family so much they grounded him. 5 days after the incident, unable to stand the constant public condemnation, he dropped out of the University of Chicago. That night, he finally found a chance to sneak out. When he arrived at the Hayes house, he found it dark and smelling of dust and decay. He searched the first floor, then the second, finally finding her in a corner of the bedroom. Chloe was lying amidst a pile of empty liquor bottles, completely drunk. This disheveled, broken woman was a far cry from the glamorous, adored socialite she had once been. Liam rushed forward, his face a mask of shock, and held her. His voice was filled with worry. "Chloe, what's happened to you?" At the sound of his voice, Chloe opened her bloodshot eyes. The moment she saw his face, her mind flashed to the iMessage history, the source of her downfall, the reason Ethan had left, all because of the man in front of her. A volcanic rage erupted within Chloe. She lost control, shoving him away. Her face was a mask of terrifying fury, and she spat out each word through clenched teeth. her voice dripping with hatred. Liam, I warned you over and over again. Ethan was my line in the sand. How dare you do this behind my back? Are you trying to get yourself killed? Liam froze, as if he'd been pinned to the spot. He stared at her face, twisted with rage, and whimpered, I didn't mean to. I just wanted to be with you. But Chloe had no patience to listen. She only felt the crushing guilt and sorrow in her heart begin to dissolve. Just then, Liam's family, who had followed him, burst into the room. His sister, Sophia, looked at the woman who had forced her brother to drop out of college and slapped Chloe across the face. Chloe, already blinded by hatred, forgot any friendship she'd had with Sophia and lunged at her. They fell to the floor, fighting viciously. Chloe, you cheated on your husband, you ruined my brother, and you destroyed his reputation. I ruined him? Sophia, get your facts straight. It was your shameless, degenerate brother who seduced me. He threw himself at me. I gave him money, but that wasn't enough for him. He had to rub it in my husband's face. And you have the nerve to hit me. He seduced you? He's just a kid. You can't control yourself, you bitch. And you have the nerve to blame him for everything. You're a horrible person. No wonder Ethan left you. That last sentence hit a nerve, and Chloe's rage exploded. She flew at Sophia like a wild animal, beating her until she was bruised and bloody and unable to fight back. As Sophia flailed, her hand closed around a liquor bottle. Acting on instinct, she swung it, smashing it over Chloe's head. Shards of glass flew everywhere, cutting them both. A deep gash opened on Chloe's forehead, and blood began to pour out. Liam watched, horrified. He rushed to Chloe's side, pressing his hand to her wound to try and stop the bleeding. He screamed at his sister, his voice filled with terror and despair. Sophia, call 911. Hurry. Chloe's bleeding so much blood. Sophia struggled to her feet, wiping the blood from her lip. She reached out to pull Liam away, her voice cold as ice. She's not going to die. Liam, get up. You are to have nothing to do with her ever again. Liam shook his head frantically, refusing to let go. Tears and snot streamed down his face, a mask of despair and defiance. No, Sophia, I love her. I just want to be with her. Please, save her. I'm begging you. Seeing him so hopelessly devoted, Sophia wanted to slap him. Liam, have you no self-respect? She doesn't love you. Can't you see that? I know everything, but I love her. As long as I can be with her, I don't care about anything else. Sophia, I've never loved anyone like this before. Please, just this once, let me have this. I would die for her. His heartbroken pleas made Sophia want to scream. She never imagined that 3 months under Chloe's influence would turn him into such an obsessive wreck. But he was her brother. No matter how disappointed she was, she couldn't abandon him. So she swallowed her anger, knelt down, and pried his fingers off Chloe one by one. Come with me now, and I'll call 911. When Liam still hesitated, Sophia started dragging him toward the door. If you don't come with me, I'll kill her right now. That made Liam shudder. He didn't dare say another word. He got to his feet and followed her, looking back at Chloe with every step he took down the stairs. When they got home, Liam was grounded again. This time, his family watched him in shifts, never leaving him alone, and they took away his phone. Cut off from the outside world, he had no idea how Chloe was doing. His family pleaded with him every day, trying to talk some sense into him, but he tuned them all out. The days blurred together. He was confined to his room, losing track of time. He barely ate or slept. He lost a significant amount of weight and looked gaunt and exhausted. In the evening, his mother brought him dinner as usual, a chicken soup that had been simmering all afternoon. But the moment Liam smelled it, he felt nauseous and threw up. Seeing him like this, his mother's face went white. She frantically put down the soup, made a doctor's appointment, and rushed him to the hospital before he could even react. The test results confirmed it. He had an STD. His father, who rushed home when he heard the news, couldn't contain his rage and slapped Liam across the face. His voice was filled with grief and anger. You're only 18. Instead of focusing on your studies, you go and get yourself some filthy disease. Liam, is this how you repay your mother and me for everything we've done for you? Have you no shame? His mother was sobbing uncontrollably, on the verge of fainting. Sophia, who had suspected as much, saw her fears confirmed. Her face was dark with fury. Of everyone in the family, only Liam seemed pleased by the diagnosis. He stared at the test results in disbelief, a flicker of hope igniting in his dead heart. He had gotten sick for Chloe, and now, with me out of the picture, surely she would come back to him. A month after arriving in this new world, I had slowly adjusted to my new life. I went to work on time every day, helped my colleagues launch a new fashion line, and discovered a new passion. I enrolled in several fashion design courses, determined to become a world-class designer. In my free time, my mom and I would go for walks, go shopping, or take vacations. Life was peaceful and relaxed. Occasionally, Sarah would ask about the 20 years I had spent in my original world. Whenever the topic came up, I never knew what to say. I knew she was just curious because she cared, but I didn't want to worry her, so I would always pause for a moment before casually changing the subject. Eventually, Sarah seemed to sense that the past was too painful to revisit, and she stopped asking. Before New Year's, my mom and I went back to her hometown. Sarah took me to visit their graves. It was the first time I had ever seen my grandparents. Even though I had never met them, seeing their kind smiles in the photos on the headstones made me feel an instant connection. On the way back, my mom and I talked about the past. She told me many things I had never known. In my sophomore year of college, I was on a research trip in the mountains with my professor when I got separated from the group in a thick fog. Something calling itself the system brought me to the world where you were born. The system gave me a task. It said that when the progress bar reached 100%, it would send me back to my own world. That task was to win over David, your father. I had to get close to him and help him get over the heartbreak of his first love leaving him. It took me 3 years, but I finally completed the task. The day the progress bar hit 100%, the system told me I could go home. At the same time, David proposed to me. I didn't know whether to stay for him or return to the world I had known for 19 years. I hesitated for a long time. David begged me to stay. In the end, my heart softened, and I stayed and married him. I got pregnant with you right after we were married. Our married life was quiet and happy. Slowly, I began to forget that I was a transmigrator, and I prepared to spend the rest of my life there. Then, when you were 8, your father's first love came back. He promised me they were just friends, but he was sleeping with her behind my back. She got pregnant, and to get rid of me, she faked a miscarriage and framed me, claiming I had killed their baby. It was such a clumsy setup. All he had to do was check the security cameras to know I was innocent, but your father only believed her. In that moment, I lost all hope in him. I decided to return to my own world. Before I left, I asked if you wanted to come with me, but you were too attached to the girl next door and refused to leave. All I could do was use my remaining points to get you the dimensional necklace. When I returned to my world, I found out that in the 9 years I was gone, my father never stopped looking for me. He passed away a week before I returned. I never got to see him one last time. All I could do was weep at his grave. I regretted it so much. I kept thinking that if I hadn't been so foolish about love, if I had just come home sooner, he wouldn't have suffered for so long, and he might not have died so young. Those were the 3 darkest months of my life. Your grandmother was by my side the whole time, helping me through it. I told her everything that had happened, and I told her about you. She believed me. She told me that one day you would come find me, and that I needed to pull myself together. That's how I slowly started to heal. Your grandmother passed away 2 years ago. In her final moments, she was still talking about you, saying how she wished she could have met her grandson. To be honest, I was starting to lose hope. 20 years had passed. I thought you had probably started a family of your own and would never come looking for me. I never imagined that just as I was about to give up, you would come back to me. Truly feels like a dream. I was too young when it happened to understand the details. All I knew was that one sunny morning, my mom dropped me off at preschool and never came back. Everyone said she had hurt someone and ran away to avoid prison, abandoning her husband and child. Even my father believed it at first. But I knew my mom was the best mother in the world. She would never hurt anyone, and she would never leave me. She only left because she was disappointed in my father. That's why I never told anyone about the necklace. Even when the truth finally came out, clearing my mother's name, and my father, driven mad by despair, was committed to a psychiatric hospital, I never told him I had a way to get to my mother's world. People who betray true love deserve to be punished. I've always believed that. I also wondered countless times if my mother was happy in her own world. Did she still hate David? Did she ever think of me? I had no way of knowing. It wasn't until today, hearing her talk about it with such a calm expression, that I finally knew for sure my mom had moved on. A great weight lifted from my heart. I watched Sarah smile, and I told her everything that had happened before I came to her world. 20 years passed in a flash, but it took me 5 hours to tell her the whole story. As I spoke, from dusk until nightfall, the smile on Sarah's face slowly faded, replaced by an expression of pure heartache. She never imagined that the exact same thing would happen to me, And the person who had hurt me the most was the very reason I had chosen to stay in that world all those years ago. For a moment, she was filled with regret. If she had just taken me with her, would I have been spared all this pain? But there are no what-ifs in life. All she could do now was pat my shoulder in comfort. Looking back on it now, I no longer feel pain or shame. I gave my heart sincerely. I just gave it to the wrong person. The one at fault is the person who betrays that sincerity, not me. Before I left, I exposed all their dirty secrets to the world. Karma will take care of the rest. That distant, unpredictable world is now in the past. I've pulled myself out of the mud and started a new journey. I don't know what the future holds, but as long as I'm with my mom, I know everything will be bright. I looked at my mom and made a pact with her. Let's just pretend everything that happened in that other world was just a dream. Now that we've woken up, let's never speak of it again. On the 30th day of my disappearance, there was still no trace of me. Just as I had intended, I had vanished completely. Chloe turned Chicago upside down, but found nothing. Every time she slept, she was plagued by terrifying nightmares. In her dreams, she would see me, but my gaze was colder than ice. No matter how she screamed and cried, how she knelt and begged for forgiveness, I remained unmoved. No matter how she chased me, I was always just out of reach, forever untouchable. The dream was a vast labyrinth that trapped her. All she could do was wait to wake up, but waking up to the empty house brought a different kind of pain. For Chloe, night and day were two different kinds of torture. She was powerless to resist, able only to let herself drown in it. She locked herself in her room. As time went on, the line between dream and reality began to blur. She was rarely lucid, until one morning the doorbell, silent for so long, rang. She startled awake, stumbled downstairs, and threw open the door. The desperate hope in her eyes died the moment she saw her parents. He hadn't seen her in nearly a month. Looking at her disheveled state, her father's long-suppressed anger finally exploded. "Is this what you've become over 2 men? Chloe, how did I raise such a pathetic daughter?" Her mother, seeing the scar on Chloe's forehead, tried to intervene. "That's enough. What's done is done. Yelling at her won't change anything. She's our daughter after all. Go easy on her." Chloe kept her head down, silent. Her father snorted, pushed past her, and went inside. Her mother sighed and began to tell her what had been happening. "After Mr. Thompson got the shares, he teamed up with the other board members to push our family out. The stock has been in freefall. Several subsidiaries are facing bankruptcy, and your father is the legal representative. To cover the losses, we've had to sell our cars, our properties. Your grandfather is still in the ICU, which is expensive, and we've sold the family home. From now on, we'll all have to live here together." Chloe couldn't believe that in just 1 month, Mr. Thompson had hollowed out the Hayes Corporation. The legacy her family had built for generations, destroyed by her own hand. She clutched her head in despair, consumed by a guilt so profound she had no strength left to fight it. Her mother knew how much she was hurting. She patted her shoulder, wanting to offer some comfort, but she didn't know what to say. As mother and daughter stood in silence, a familiar voice came from behind them. "Chloe, Mrs. Hayes." They both turned to see Liam standing at the door with his parents and sister. The sight of them made Chloe's face darken. She glared at him, her voice dripping with hostility. "What are you doing here?" Seeing her reaction, the color drained from Liam's face, and he was momentarily speechless. Sophia stepped in front of her brother, her voice sharp. "You think we want to be here? We just want you to take some responsibility." Responsibility. Hearing that word, Chloe let out a cold laugh. She wanted some responsibility, too. The two families sat facing each other in the dim room, the tension thick in the air. The atmosphere was suffocating. No one spoke for a long time. Finally, it was Liam who broke the silence. "I have an STD." His words shattered the silence like a bomb. Chloe's parents stared at him, their faces a mixture of shock and disbelief. Chloe shot to her feet, her eyes wide with disbelief. "Impossible!" Hearing her denial, Sophia jumped up to confront her. "How is it impossible? My brother has only been with you. The doctor said it was from excessive activity over the past 2 months. Are you still going to deny it?" Chloe's sluggish mind raced, trying to piece together the timeline. 2 months ago would have been mid-November. That was impossible. She had been clean that month. How could she have given him anything? After thinking it through, Chloe was certain they were lying. Her gaze hardened. "Who knows if your promiscuous little brother has been sleeping with other women?" Enraged by the insult, Sophia raised her hand to strike her, but Liam stopped her. He looked at Chloe, his eyes red. November 19th. Your birthday. Have you forgotten? His reminder brought the memory of that night flooding back. Her expression darkened. She gritted her teeth. So what? Was it all my fault? Chloe, the most important thing is that I'm sick. Liam trailed off, looking at her expectantly, waiting for her to say they could work things out. But Chloe shattered his hopes with a single sentence. Even if it was my fault, I'm not taking responsibility for it. The room fell silent once more. Liam's mother, who had been silent until now, finally stood up, her voice shaking with emotion. You seduced my son, who just turned 18, and now he might not be able to have children. You'll pay for this. Liam's voice was pleading. Chloe, I don't blame you. I just want to be with you, forever. Chloe's expression grew even colder. I told you from the very beginning, this was just for fun. You're dreaming if you think you can use this to blackmail me. Hearing this, Liam's father clenched his fists and grabbed her by the collar. Chloe, you watch your mouth. My son was serious about you. Are you going to take no responsibility for toying with his emotions? Unfazed by their threats, Chloe's eyes filled with scorn. From the very beginning, it was your son who came on to me. He got me drunk and took advantage of me. I paid him for his trouble, but he got greedy and tried to use this to blackmail me. What right do you have to judge me? Sophia couldn't take it anymore and slapped her again. Chloe wiped the blood from her lip, a vicious glint in her eye, and raised her hand to strike back. Her father, who had been sitting on the sofa, finally had enough of the drama. Enough, he roared. Chloe, since Ethan left without a word, you might as well divorce him and marry Liam. Hearing his authoritative tone, Chloe panicked. I will never divorce Ethan. He's just angry. He'll come back when he's cooled down. Her mother couldn't believe that, even after Ethan had brought their family to ruin, her daughter was still defending him. And what if he does come back? She interrupted. Hasn't he hurt you enough? He's just like his mother. Once he's gone, he's not coming back. Do you want to end up like his father, wasting away in a psychiatric hospital? Hearing those words from her own mother felt like a knife to the heart. She clenched her fists, her face pale, but she stubbornly refused to face reality. He will come back, she insisted. We were together for so many years. He would never just leave me. Chloe, wake up. Liam's plea was the final blow. He's erased his legal existence. How can he come back? His words were the final dagger, shattering Chloe's fragile defenses. She glared at him, her expression murderous. Shut up. Even if Ethan never comes back, I will never, ever marry you. In my heart, Ethan will always be my only husband. The color drained from Liam's face. His shoulders began to tremble, his fingernails digging into his palms. A wave of despair, deeper than any he had ever known, washed over him. For the first time, he realized that for him, I was an insurmountable mountain. Even with me gone from the face of the earth, he would never be able to win Chloe's heart. Seeing his daughter on the verge of hysteria, her father couldn't take it anymore and had her locked in her room. The living room fell silent again. Chloe's mother had fresh tea brought in and served it to the Song family herself, but their expressions remained grim. Chloe's father glanced at Liam and forced a smile. Chloe isn't in her right mind. Don't pay any attention to the crazy things she was saying. Since Liam has been harmed, our family will of course take full responsibility. At this promise, the Song family's expressions finally softened. Liam quickly composed himself and bowed slightly to Chloe's parents. Thank you, Mr. and Mrs. Hayes. Chloe has just been through a lot. She's not thinking clearly right now. I understand. I really do love her. I believe that one day, she'll come to accept me. His mature demeanor was a comfort to Chloe's parents, who had been through so much. Chloe's mother had him sit beside her. I've seen the news, she said carefully. I'm so sorry that my foolish daughter has caused such a mess, and that you've all been dragged into it. Since Liam is sick, why don't you move in with us? It would be a good opportunity for you and Chloe to get closer. Chloe isn't a bad person, really. She's just very emotional. Once you're better, I'm sure she'll come to her senses and agree to marry you. We'll do our best to talk some sense into her. Liam's anxious heart began to calm. He looked up at the closed bedroom door on the second floor, a flicker of hope in his eyes. After moving into the Hayes house under the pretext of recovering, Liam's health slowly improved. The Hayes family had fallen on hard times, but they were still wealthy. Every day, Liam would go upstairs to see Chloe, bringing her sweets and fruit, whispering sweet nothings, hoping to rekindle their past affection. But she not only rejected his gifts, throwing them out of her room, but on several occasions, she even managed to get out of her locked room and tried to drag him to the hospital to get treatment sooner. Liam was terrified. After a few such incidents, he learned not to bring up the past in front of her. As the days went by, his health gradually improved. He was taking supplements, but his past excesses had taken their toll. Meanwhile, Chloe spent 2 months locked in her room, seeing no one, seeing no sunlight, drinking herself into a stupor day after day. Her self-destructive behavior nearly gave her father a heart attack. He yelled at her, pleaded with her, but nothing changed. She would even bang on her door in the middle of the night, demanding more to drink. Eventually, they gave up on her, acting as if they didn't have a daughter. They pinned all their hopes on their future son-in-law, hoping he would be able to save the family once he was well, and they doted on him. Seeing this, Liam felt his position as the Hayes son-in-law was secure. He stopped being so deferential and demanded that he and Chloe get legally married first. To appease him, Chloe's mother went to talk to Chloe herself. That evening, Chloe came downstairs, but her expression was still cold. She gave Liam a dismissive glance and walked out the door. Her attitude wasn't great, but Liam was just happy to see her out of her room and seemingly pulling herself together. To try and win her over, he even learned how to cook from their housekeeper and prepared a special dinner for the whole family. But both families waited from 5 o'clock until 7, and Chloe still wasn't back. Chloe's father was about to lose his temper, but Liam quickly smoothed things over, and they finally started to eat. After dinner, Liam's family left without even staying for coffee. Chloe's father, furious, retreated to his study. Liam waited alone in the living room until midnight, when Chloe finally came home. She had been drinking, but she was still lucid. She walked right past him as if he wasn't there and headed upstairs. Liam tried to help her, but she shoved him away. The color drained from his face. He followed her cautiously up the stairs. The moment the door closed, he grabbed her hand, his eyes pleading. "Chloe, I've been living here for so long. Can't you find it in your heart to forgive me? Forgive." Hearing that word, a dark look flashed in Chloe's eyes. Liam, oblivious to her mood, pressed closer. "Chloe, I'll be all better soon. Then, whenever you want me, I'll be ready." Chloe froze. She turned to him, her face a cold mask. "Are you that desperate? I was just worried you were frustrated." Chloe couldn't take it anymore. She shoved him out the door. "Get out," she said, her voice final. "If you ever say anything like that again, you will never set foot in this house again." The days passed, and soon it was the evening of April 16th. After her mother's relentless persuasion, Chloe finally agreed to get married the next day. When Liam heard the news, he was so excited he barely slept a wink. The next morning, he was even more delighted to see Chloe carefully doing her hair. He sat down at the dining table and decided he wanted some orange juice. He called for the housekeeper, but there was no answer. Chloe glanced at him, then got up and went into the kitchen. A few moments later, she returned with a glass of freshly squeezed orange juice and set it in front of him. It was the first time in a long time that Chloe had been pleasant to him. Liam was so moved he was on the verge of tears. "Chloe, I knew you still cared about me." Chloe ignored him, her eyes fixed on the glass of orange juice. Liam thought she was waiting for him to try it, so he quickly took a sip. He was about to compliment it when he heard Chloe's cold voice. "Finish it." Eager to please her, Liam quickly drank the rest of the juice. Seeing the empty glass, Chloe smiled, satisfied. Liam smiled back, his eyes full of happiness. "Chloe, when are we going to City Hall?" Chloe glanced at her watch. "Later," she said nonchalantly. "Oh," Liam said, and started eating his sandwich, not noticing the strange, calculating look on Chloe's face. He was full after half a sandwich. He looked around and, noticing that Chloe's parents, usually early risers, weren't around, he asked casually, "Where are Mom and Dad?" "Mom and Dad? Who said you could call them that?" Liam stared at her, confused. "But, we're getting married today, aren't we? Can't I call them Mom and Dad?" Chloe raised her left hand and straightened the slightly crooked ring on her finger. Her voice was casual again. "Since you're so excited about it, let's just not go." The smile froze on Liam's face. "Not go? But you promised you'd marry me." "I did, but now I've changed my mind. Is that not allowed? Besides, I have a feeling you won't be in the mood to get married for much longer." Chloe's voice held a strange, cheerful note that made Liam's stomach clench with dread. "Why did you change your mind?" Chloe looked up at the calendar on the wall, her eyes filled with a distant, nostalgic look. "Because today is the 15th anniversary of when Ethan and I started dating. On such an important day, why would I go to City Hall with you and let you take the place that will only ever belong to him?" Liam followed her gaze and saw the date, circled in red. He tried to suppress the rising panic, his voice trembling. But, I'm almost better. Are you really going to? Don't worry. Chloe's voice was as smooth as glass. I am. Her voice was calm, but to Liam, it was like a thunderclap. He backed away, his eyes wide with terror and pleading. Chloe, if your parents find out, they'll be furious. Seeing him cowering in the corner, Chloe let out a small, cruel laugh. The next moment, her cold eyes became sharper than a razor's edge. Of course, I wouldn't do it myself. I can be a bit heavy-handed after all, and I'm sure your sister would kill me. After thinking it over, I decided that certain medications would be a safer option. Don't you agree? At the word medications, the color drained from Liam's face. He looked at the empty glass, and his first instinct was to stick his fingers down his throat. Watching him collapse on the floor, retching violently, Chloe felt a wave of pure, unadulterated pleasure. She stood over him, looking down. I told you again and again that there would be consequences. Why didn't you ever listen? Everything I gave Ethan, I gave willingly. But you were just a dog I played with when I was bored. What on earth made you think you could ever compare to him? You drove him away with your disgusting little tricks. Did you really think that would make me want to be with you? How could you be so stupid? The pain you caused him, I will repay it to you 1,000 times over. I will make you wish you were dead. As she spoke, a smile played on Chloe's lips, but tears welled in her eyes. She looked around at the house, now a hollow shell of what it once was, and a pain like 1,000 cuts sliced through her heart. She stumbled out the door, with nowhere to go. She wanted to find me, but she had no idea where to even begin looking. When the light above the operating room went out, a nurse came out to speak to the family. Liam ingested a large quantity of medication. Although he was able to vomit some of it up, he still absorbed a significant amount. For his long-term health, we recommend surgery to prevent any future complications. However, the patient is refusing the procedure, so we need to consult with you. Chloe's parents' hearts sank. What kind of effect will the medication have on him? They asked. Isn't there anything else you can do? I'm sorry. Due to a lack of clinical data, we can't be certain of the long-term effects. But to be safe, we strongly recommend the surgery. Even with the doctor's recommendation, Chloe's parents were hesitant. After much deliberation, they finally consented. And so, for the next 5 months, Liam was in the hospital. When Chloe found out he was going to be fine, she started coming to the hospital to harass him. Utterly disappointed, her father had her committed to a psychiatric hospital. Chloe's mother, heartbroken, couldn't take the strain and passed away 2 months later. 3 months later, Liam was well enough to be discharged. He would show up at the Hayes house whenever he could, screaming abuse. Eventually, Chloe's father had no choice but to sell the mansion and move to a smaller neighborhood. Looking around his empty new home, he finally thought of his disgraced daughter. But when he went to the psychiatric hospital to bring her home, the doctor gave him more devastating news. Chloe had suffered a complete mental breakdown. Her father didn't believe it. But when he entered her room and saw his daughter, her hair streaked with gray, her eyes empty and unfocused, he broke down in tears. What have we done? What have we done? Seeing the old man weeping, a flicker of lucidity returned to Chloe's eyes. But she didn't recognize him. Thinking he was another patient, she offered him the apple she was holding. Why are you crying? Is it because you have no one to play with? When Ethan comes back, we can be your friends, okay? Her father was stunned. After all this time, she was still thinking of me. He took her hand, his voice filled with sorrow. You don't even recognize your own father, but you still remember Ethan? Chloe didn't understand him. She only caught the name Ethan. Thinking I had finally returned, she tried to get up and run out of the room. The orderlies had to restrain her, gently coaxing her back into bed. You be good now. Ethan will be back tonight. You promised Ethan this morning that you would be quiet today. Watching them soothe Chloe like a small child, her father finally realized that his last shred of hope was gone. He slowly walked out of the room, but a nurse stopped him. You're Chloe's father, correct? We were wondering, who is this Ethan she keeps talking about? Is it possible to have him come to the hospital? It might help with her condition. Ethan, looking at Chloe, who was finally settling down in her room, her father shook his head. I don't know. With those words, he turned and slowly walked down the stairs. As he passed through the courtyard, he saw a familiar figure. David, my father. He hadn't seen him in nearly 30 years. He was so old and frail, he looked like he was on the verge of death. But he was still muttering a name. Sarah. Where are you, Sarah? It took Chloe's father a long moment to place the name. Sarah, Ethan's mother. the one who had vanished without a trace one morning, so many years ago. So, was there really such a thing as fate? He didn't know. But looking at David now, he could see Chloe in 20 years. Old, lost in her own mind, muttering the name of someone she would never forget, even in death. And the ones they were calling for, when would they return? They were probably never coming back.